This video is purely theoretical in its creation and conception, and this is simply my idea of why Volume 8 will be Cinder's ultimate triumph. Failure is the ultimate teacher. We strive to become better based on our shortcomings, our failures, our losses, etc. But sometimes we let our egos get in the way of reason and logic, which results in insanity. Repeating the same mistake time and time again until just maybe that one sign we needed arrives in our hands. That guiding light that will set us on the course correction that we need. Cinderfall has been a main character since the beginning, and she has been a figure of allure, intrigue, cunning, and deception. But since her repeated defeats, she has been seen as a figure of fun for her colleagues such as Watts, Tyrion, and even her boss, Salem. But she is also a woman who is consumed by her own ego. Her own perceptions that she deserves power for her suffering as a child, her helplessness at the hands of Madame. She fails to grasp at her shortcomings and failures. However, an unlikely source may have set her on the right path, one of which may result in her not only achieving her goals, but exceed them, both in the eyes of Salem, but also in her own eyes. Arthur Watts may be that guiding light that she needed. So let us go back to when Cinder first began her conquest for power. She fights with and defeats Amber for the maiden powers, but she did so with the aid of Emerald and Mercury, so it is likely a feat that she cannot pull off on her own. But she had the insight to know this and enlisted the aid of them, and at least partially succeeded in gaining half of the Fall Maiden powers. Later, she manages to mortally wound Amber and finally secure the full extent of the Fall Maiden power. She then battles Ozpin as Pyrrha and John make their escape after Oz ominously tells them that they would only get in the way. The end result of that is Ozpin's defeat, and later on, Pyrrha also falls to the new Maiden of Autumn. However, an unexpected consequence emerges as Ruby uses her silver eyes and badly wounds Cinder. Later on, she reconvenes with her colleagues Watts, Tyrion, and Hazel, as well as Salem, and is belittled by Watts for her failure to defeat Ruby. However, Salem interjects and defends Cinder's success as Beacon has fallen. Ozpin is dead, and she is the Fall Maiden. She later trains her powers and tries to harness them, where Salem sternly berates her for asking, "Are you not the girl of power? Do you not seek power, the ultimate power?" Cinder, of course, denies this and says, "No, I am who you say I am. I am this woman who wants to be powerful. I want the power." Later on in Volume 5, she is tasked with finding Raven, who is revealed to be the Spring Maiden thanks to the efforts of Watts, who was spying on Crow and company through the eyes and ears of Leo. But when they meet with Raven, Cinder attempts to strike a deal, but Watts jumps in and interjects and says, "I see what you're doing here. If you think I'm going to let your grudge against the child be our downfall, I'm not going to be a part of it." Cinder ignores his warning and makes a deal with Raven. Later on at the Battle of Haven, Cinder, believing she had the upper hand against Raven, is ultimately deceived herself when it was revealed that Vernal was not in fact the Spring Maiden. Raven was. Raven and Cinder fight each other, but ultimately Cinder falls short and plummets to her supposed death. We later see that she in fact survived the encounter, albeit barely, and attempts to make contact with someone known as Miss Malachite to find out where Ruby and company are going. However, when she gets her answer, an unexpected guest arrives in the form of Neapolitan. Neo blames Cinder for her boss Roman's death, and the two fight. However, Cinder convinces Neo to strike a deal with her. "Help me kill Ruby, and we can avenge your boss together." And Cinder points out that she can't kill Ruby herself, as that would go against orders given to her by Salem. However, Neo has no such scruples. She could kill Ruby, and it would be no fault on Cinder's end. Later on, they arrive at Atlas, where they learn that Arthur Watts and Tyrion are afoot, and Cinder is beside herself as she expected Vacuo to be the target, not Atlas. Later on, she attempts to fight Winter and Penny. Ultimately, she loses against the two of them after Ruby makes the save and uses her silver eyes to once again drive Cinder away. She is then tasked with rescuing Arthur Watts, where she does succeed in freeing him, but then something happens to her that she probably didn't see coming. She asks Arthur, how am I to take the power if she's dead, as Arthur reveals that Penny is on a crash course to open the vault and then self-terminate. Cinder obviously is not happy with this and wants to know how she can fix this problem. Her suggestion in her own mind is to just kill Arthur Watts, in which he says, you can't just threaten me like everyone else. And she condescendingly says, you think you're so clever, don't you, Arthur? And Arthur defends himself by saying, Salem told you to rescue me, but she says, Salem isn't here right now. But I think we can still come to an agreement. I'm going to watch you fall to a untimely demise while I blaze a storm through the vault and await for Penny. Arthur's response is to simply laugh at her, mockingly so. Oh, of course you are, because that's just what you do, he tells her. And he releases his hands from her arms, showing that he is not afraid of her in any way, shape, or form. And how has that worked out for you, he asks. You stormed into Freya's room thinking you could take the Winter Maiden's power and fight Ironwood's top fighter and war machine, but you couldn't. And that machine became the Winter Maiden. Oh, and let's not forget your deal with Raven Bronwyn. Get all your enemies in one place, so you'd have a shot at revenge. If only someone could have warned you against such a miserable idea. Oh wait, I did! But you pushed ahead and you lost it. When all you had to do was your job. You think you're entitled to everything just because you've suffered, but suffering isn't enough. You can't just be strong, you have to be smart. You can't just be deserving, you have to be worthy. But all you have ever been is a bloody migraine. Cinder's response is to angrily scream at him, but reel him back in because she realizes he's right. He is 100% correct in everything that he had just told her. She has consistently failed because of her own short-sightedness, her own ego clouding her judgment, her inability to understand her failures. And with that, she releases her power and has a simple cry. Watts, of course, is relieved that his rant at her succeeded in sparing him from her wrath. And so we cut to them again later on after Ironwood gives his ultimatum to Ruby and Penny. Bring Penny so that she can open the vault, or Mantle is gone. The two of them have a look at each other. The two of them, of course, are tied to Atlas, as they are originally from Atlas. And perhaps they see this as their chance to finally get at someone who has been the source of problems for them. Later on, we see that Watts has been tapping into communication between Ruby and Ironwood after Ruby says that Penny will do it. She will go to the vault, open it, and pull out the Staff of Creation so that Atlas can ascend. Neo, of course, arrives, aims her umbrella at Cinder, and Watts has a curious look at both of them. And seems to be curious about what is going on. Cinder looks back with a confident look on her face, seeming to indicate something that she has in mind. We then last see Cinder as she's looking up from the crowd from Atlas and Mantle as they stand in the void world that Ruby had the Staff of Creation make for her so that they could teleport the people of Atlas and Mantle to Vacuo. And then I look at this face and I see that of someone who has an idea in mind, that perhaps Cinder will finally get the reward that she deserves. She finally has learned from her mistakes. She knows that she needs the aid of others, be it Neo, who she saw as an asset, and Arthur Watts, as she saw as a nuisance. She needs these people with her in order to succeed. She may finally understand that it's teamwork, and it's people that are loyal to you, people that know what your goal is in order to succeed. And perhaps she could bring Emerald about. Maybe she could sway Emerald back into the fold, even in knowing what Salem plans. But perhaps instead of saying, I don't care what Salem wants, this is what I want, this is what I plan. And if Salem is planning the end of the world, then I will stop her and I will be the Dark Queen of this world. This is my potential theory that Cinder is going to finally succeed. She's going to get the big win that she has so longingly desired to be a part of her life, that she will obtain the power that she so genuinely covets.